All right, everyone. So I hope you all have your sunscreen on because we are hopping on in to chapter 29 in the My Lady book, which is UV gels. I swear, every time I go on to a new chapter, I think the puns get tackier and slightly funnier. That might be because I am biased to my own dry sense of humor. But anyhow, UV gels. So I have a little exercise for any of you students watching. I want you to get a pad and paper and just think, pause the video and think, what do you like about UV gels compared to regular nail polish or, monomers and all those other things we learned about? And really take time to compare and contrast that, because being in cosmetology school and having a limited information on nails, I don't appreciate the benefit and the ease of UV gels compared to some of the older broads in this field that have been in there for many years, 60, 50, I guess even more than 60 years. There's a hairdresser who, she would come in the student salon, not at my school that I taught at, but a neighboring one. I don't know if she is still alive, but I know she was 102 at the time. And she was a cosmetologist herself and did it for quite some time and still had interest in the field. Can you only imagine someone who is that mature and who has seen so much would have a greater appreciation for all these amazing technologies? I mean, UV gels, we're going to learn later on in the chapter, they only came around in 2000. Literally the turn of the new millennium. That's incredible to have a technology come out at exactly 2000 and everyone's probably wanting to get this. So we're going to start this off to learn about a lot of terminology. This test in this chapter does have a lot of science portions of it, like the Latin roots. I'm going to make this as painless as possible. So know that a UV gel is going to be defined as a type of nail enhancement product that hardens when exposed to a UV light source. And also know that UV gel is becoming increasingly popular due to a service or an enhancement service, just due to the new technology and the ease of it. And self-explanatory, if you think about UV, ultraviolet, for those of you that go tanning or go to a tanning bed still, we know that tanning is what kind of light? UV light, and that light tans our skin. Well, this light actually reacts with the chemicals that are in this nail product, and it hardens it. So it's kind of like this really cool, almost magical process that happens. So it's important to know why you should study UV gels. Clients may be interested in it. You can make money doing this. They become incredibly loyal when they get hooked on UV gels because of the ease of it, the ease for maintenance, and all that stuff. Know that UV gels... it's also important to know, because this will be on the test, nail enhancements based on UV curing are not traditionally thought of as being methylcrylates, but they are very similar. Like wrap, resins, adhesives, monomer liquids, and polymer powders, nail enhancements, UV gel enhancements rely on ingredients from the monomer liquid and polymer powder chemical family. So basically the chemicals that are used in all the other services are very similar. They're in the same family. They might not be the same, but they function very similarly. So for example, the ingredients are part of a subcategory of this family called acrylates. Wrap resins are called cyanocrylates, and monomer liquid and polymer powder nail enhancements are from the same category called methacrylates. Know that most UV gels are made from acrylates, but new UV technologies have been developed that use methacrylates. Also know that UV gels can also contain monomer liquids, but they rely mostly on a related form called an oligomer. So think about the Latin root to that. Mono means one. If you have mono, the disease, you usually only get it once, hence the term mono. Another way to remember that is mono. What's another good word to remember mono? I'm going to put a pin in this and come back to that because I have something on the tip of my tongue, but it flew out of my head. And poly means many. So think of this on a spectrum. You have mono, which is one. You are monochrome. That's what was on my head. So think about monochrome. Monochrome means one color. If something is monochromatic, it's just very flat. It's one color. It doesn't have any dimension. So mono is one on one side of the spectrum. Poly is many. So if you are, back to biology, polysaccharide, you'd have many starch branches. If you are a polynomial shape, you have many sides. So mono one, poly many, but what about that middle ground that we never talk about? Well, that is called an oligo. Oh, that's like something in my, sorry about that. I had like something that was in my mouth that was bothering me. It's like I was eating nuts before. It was like a chocolate mousse, and it's like really weird. Oh, that's a bad blooper. Sorry about that. I'm gonna drink the water. So, oligo means a few, and an oligomer is a short chain of monomer liquids that is often thick, sticky, and gel-like, and that is not long enough to be considered a polymer. These chains are often referred to as prepolymers. Know that nail enhancement monomer liquids are liquids, while polymers are solids. So again, think of this spectrum. Mono one, mono is also a liquid. In nail science, mono is one, mono is also a liquid, poly is many, poly is a solid. Go in that middle to an oligomer and it gets really complex because oligomers are between a solid and a liquid. And I know that sounds really, really confusing, but just memorize it as that oligomers are neither liquid, neither solid. They're kind of like in this weird limbo, purgatory-like area of this nail product spectrum. I think a good way to remember this is because this is where the complex chemistry gets really confusing and you're like, what? How does it exist? I call this the just so science of the nail section of cosmetology, where it is what it is. For now, for your test, just remember that mono one, mono is a liquid, poly many, poly is a solid, oligomers, few, and between a liquid and a solid. It is what it is, but it is very fascinating. You can look more into this, but you might get very confused. I know that it took me quite a few years to finally get a handle on this of like how it works, because it really was complex. Also know that traditionally, UV gels rely on a special type of acrylate called urethane acrylate. UV gel systems newer UV gel systems use urethane methacrylates by themselves or in combination with urethane acrylates. Know that urethane acrylate and urethane methacrylate are the main ingredients to create UV gel nail enhancements. The term urethane refers to the type of starting material that is used to create the most common UV gel resins. The chemical family of urethanes is also known for high absorption resistance and durability. Fun fact on urethanes. Urethane is a really weird chemical. Look up, it was hidden killers of the post-war home. Back in the day, a lot of old sofas used to have like this plastic covering that was urethane. And what happens with urethane, it's actually highly flammable. So if you dropped a match, or back in the day when people smoked, if they dropped a cigarette on that, the whole couch would like go on up in flames. So again, this is the fun science part behind this, is that urethane is no laughing matter when exposed to a flame. So I don't think any salons still allow smoking in them, but if they do, you do not want to have your client lighting up, or you yourself at the nail thing, otherwise their nails are going to be flying off their fingers. Also know that UV gel resins react when exposed to UV light. That is recommended for the gel, and this chemical is called a photoinitiator. Think of photo light and initiator meaning to start a reaction. Put it together, photoinitiator means light needed to start a reaction. And that starts the polymerization reaction. It's important to remember that it takes a combination of items to make the UV gel work. It takes the combination of the light, it takes a combination of the chemicals. Also know that typically UV gels do not use a powder that is incorporated into the gel resin. A few UV gels in the market will incorporate a powder that is sprinkled into the gel, but the rest of this chapter uses the term gel to refer to the ones that don't. So there are different types of UV gels because it is a newer technology and manufacturers are now making their chemistry differently. The best thing you can do as a professional, because things are progressing so fast, is to read the manufacturer's instructions, read some reviews, and really test out a few on yourself and friends before you start using them on clients. Also know that UV gels are easy to file, apply, and maintain. They have the advantage of having very little to no odor, which is a huge benefit to clients that can't stand the odor and students. However, they are not typically as hard as monomer liquid and polymer powder nail enhancements. They can, however, create beautiful, long-lasting nail enhancements. Know that the UV gel application process differs from all other types of nail enhancements because after the nail plate is properly prepared, each layer of product is applied to the natural nail tip or form, and it requires an exposure to UV light to cure. So curing means to harden. So if you're going to cure the gel, you're going to harden the gel into the shape. Also know that the UV light required from curing comes from a special lamp that is designed to emit the proper intensity of the UV light. There are also many types of UV gels. You want to choose a favorite and well-respected gel in the field. So if you go into your local beauty supplier, ask the rep or get an idea of the reviews online to which one you want to buy. Pick the one that typically has the best reviews, and then if you feel like you want to experiment, try one of the lower rating review ones to see if it differs. Know that there's going to be quite a bit of opinion on this. Some cosmetologists favor the UV gel that is thick and will not level by itself, where others like to use UV gels that is others like to use gels that is thin and will self-level. So it's totally up to you if you want something that's thick and you have to kind of like ply it around to make it work, or if you want something that's a little bit thinner and will level on its own so you don't have to do as much work. Totally up to you and how you want to use it. Also know that the different UV gels can be described as thin viscosity gels, medium viscosity gels, thick viscosity gels, and building or sculpting gels. So think about that as let's unpack that a little bit. Think of that as like a spectrum. Again, if you have a gel, you can either have a gel that's really, really thin and kind of loose and it might run slightly. So you gotta be a little bit careful, but you're able to, put it where you want. And then if you talk about medium viscosity gels, a little bit better, a little bit thicker. Thick ones is gonna be decently thick and you're gonna put it somewhere, chances are it will stay. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum is gonna be the building or sculpting gels, which are super, super thick, and the minute you put them somewhere, they stay, and you can kind of use them to manually sculpt them. So thin might be good for finer things, where thickest is good for, I guess, maximum molding. So know that manufacturers have different market names for UV gels. Like they'll put their own marketing on it, which has nothing to do with the science behind it or what it actually is. But there are these general categories. There is the one color method and the two color method. And that is it. The one color method is a method whereby one color of UV gel is applied over the entire nail surface. This method is used for clients who wish to wear colored polish or UV gel polish over the enhancement. And your two-color method is a method whereby two colors of resin are used to overlay the nail. Usually pink and white colors are used, allowing for a French or American manicure finish in which lacquer is not needed because it looks like the nail is painted. Or it looks like a natural nail. Know that there are many processes for performing the two-color methods over tips or natural nails. The process varies from one manufacturer to the other, so make sure you find out how the manufacturer applies it. I know that kind of sounds a little redundant, but yeah, when it comes to nail chapter, nail science is pretty broad, so there are different ways to apply it according to the manufacturer. I would say though that once you get a handle on the science, you're able to kind of manipulate the product as to how you want to make it work and be a bit more creative and custom. Now we're going to get on to the classifications of the types of UV gels. Actually, you know what I will do, because I don't want to make this too long. I'm going to be super, super lenient on everyone. I'll give you a super early break, take an early 5-minute break. When we come back, we're going to jump into the types of UV gels so we can cover all that, because I don't want to start that and then give you your break and then have you come back and be like, oh, I forgot like half of them. So take an early break, take a 5-minute break, come back, and we're going to talk about the types of UV gels used.